This is USC running back MarShawn Lloyd.
Led the class in yards after contact and missed tackles force, according to Sports Info Solutions. Could play with power and has really light feet, and he really wants to show you guys that he does have really light feet. I would say that you probably get the most bang for your buck when you're watching MarShawn Lloyd in terms of entertainment. That could be really good. And as a USC fan, there's also some really bad, and it mostly comes with the fumbles.
Yeah, I have all of these skills, and I want to show you all of them on every single play. Is basically how MarShawn Lloyd plays football. 5'9", 220 pounds. He actually has 14th percentile hand size at 8 3/4 inches. We'll put a pin in that and get to it a bit later. 4'4", 640, 156, 10-yard split, 46th percentile broad jump. And as you put it, more than any other running back, his runs either look awesome because he's bouncing off tackles, long legs, body parts all over every direction, or they look awful. He gets chopped down. You say to yourself, he could have gotten more in these instances on these runs. With that in mind, Hayden, the comparison that instantly jumped out to me, DeAndre Swift. I think half the audience just said to themselves, "Oh, DeAndre Swift," and the other half said, "Ooh, DeAndre Swift," because he is a polarizing player that can be boom or busty, that can aggravate his coaching staff. But when the play hits and it all comes together, then you're getting an explosive run that can change a game or change a moment.
Yes, my three comps were like Kenneth Walker, but way less proven than Kenneth Walker. DeAndre Swift right up the middle, and then Dameon Pierce if you want to find the negative outcome for him. Yeah, according to Sports Info Solutions, he only hit the designed hole on 57% of his runs. This is a guy that wants to bounce it outside. Sometimes he wants to cut it back inside. He's true chaos. And when things are going right, he looks like the best running back in the class. I think just like athletically, and because he's 220 pounds, it's 97th percentile BMI, really thick build. He can shed tacklers based off of just his contact balance, but also he actually can dance a little bit out there. So try to contain him. Yes, you have to contain him. And that's the hard part is he's been in college at 2 different universities and nobody's been able to contain him yet. The athletic traits really are tantalizing. So I can see this thing going either way. He just has to protect the ball. If you fumble at this pace, you're going to be completely off the field.
So that's the issue. I think his running style, not hitting the hole, changing his directions, not executing the play, is going to frustrate running back coaches, his quarterback, offensive play callers. But it doesn't stop there. I talked about the hand size, 14th percentile. He fumbled once every 36 touches at the college level. That is one of the worst rates I've ever seen. That is absolutely horrible. Hey, 2 games, 18 touches in each contest. Yeah, I'm putting the ball in the dirt. So it's twofold of frustrations that he might give. But at the same time, Hayden, like you watch these runs and you think that there's no way the next series he's going to be able to replicate this flailing movement that somehow works and creates all these extra yards. And then he does it again for an even bigger gain. It's one of the crazier prospect films that I've ever watched.
Yeah, he actually led the class in the boom rate of his runs, like explosive runs, highest rate of doing that. So I don't know where he's going to go. If you told me that he goes round 3 because he has the juice, I'm in. If he falls to round 5 because coaches say I can't live with the negatives, I would totally understand that as well. So I'm not sure. As a USC guy, there were some times where I thought that he looked like one of the best USC running backs in a very, very long time. And then there's also times where he's handing the Bruins touchdowns based off of the fumbles, one of the worst runs I've ever seen. And that's just been part of the problem with him. I'm not sure if anybody should have any confidence in what their opinion of MarShawn Lloyd is. If he can play under more control, maybe there's a different type of scheme for him or different types of runs that he can hit where he doesn't have to make all the decisions. He can just let his athleticism win out. Then we can have something pretty special here. But I think it really is going to be dependent on the coaching staff and the scheme and those type of things. And sitting here on April 19th, I think that's very hard for us to kind of pinpoint.
That one play against UCLA perfectly encapsulates him. There's instant disruption, instant penetration. And what he does is avoid that, then makes another guy miss by bouncing outside, then almost makes a second guy miss by bouncing outside, and then fumbles it, and UCLA scoops and scores it. Again, perfect encapsulation of who MarShawn Lloyd is as a player, that constantly changing his initial direction, which will make him, I think, a streaky player, a la DeAndre Swift in the league. And you just question, Like, how can he keep bouncing these things and they keep working out? Because he's just searching constantly for open space. And I will say, and some of this is his style, because again, he's looking for these open areas. He was 8th among every single ball carrier in college football this past season with 100 plus carries, as you said, with 0.4 missed tackles forced per attempt. But at the same time, he was 15th in all of college football with 3.1 yards given to him before contact. So, like, what's going to happen with his style when he's not afforded this much space like he was at USC? Because I did see some concerning things on top of what we already talked about. When he was facing up against contact, he loved to jam the B button. He loved to try to spin off of it. And sometimes that would work. There are other times you get demolished by another dude coming in, because once you lose that squared up shoulders, you're losing half of your force.
And the football sometimes he'll spin it and just get immediately demolished. So yeah, there's a lot of shotgun runs, a lot of open space.
Oh, and their shotgun runs, I didn't want to mention this. Their shotgun runs are different.
Yes.
Because it's not just the sidecar. What USC would do is move their running back 2 yards separate from the quarterback and then also 2 yards back. So it's not pistol, but it kind of still gave him a little bit of an angle to create some momentum too.
Yeah, and I don't want to spend this entire video talking about his flaws, because there are like some stats here that showcase that he has the traits to become one of like the better runners in the league in terms of just runs to the perimeter, where I think that his skills will translate best. He had the highest forced missed tackle rates on outside carries and the highest yards after contact on these outside carries. So there's something to this. Like some running back coach needs to get a hold of him and let this guy stay in the kind of vision that we need him to stay in, because in terms of just like entertainment per minute with his running back class, he has the most by far.
There's also a really cool play that I guess Cliff Kingsbury called, where they did play action with him and it was against a too high shell, and then he just sliced down the middle of both of these safeties and caught a pass 40 yards on the field that he actually had to turn his body to.
I love that play.
Yeah, I mean, I think running back vertical routes should be used a bit more often. So yeah, I mean, he even has some receiving chops to him. 18 catches last season, I should say 2 years ago at South Carolina, 13 this past year. Again, I keep mentioning the name, but DeAndre Swift is one of these guys who was drafted in the second round and had splash plays in Detroit. And then they basically wanted nothing to do with him and tried to improve off of him. A very good organization in the Philadelphia Eagles like, oh, we'll give DeAndre Swift a try. One and only 1 year of him. But then DeAndre Swift was the first guy who got signed in for agency this past cycle because the Chicago Bears want him. So there's always a team, I think, that will want to reel all of this in and believe that we can just harness the good and maybe cover up some of the bad. But you also might be chasing that a little bit too long.
I will say, compared to DeAndre Swift, I think MarShawn Lloyd finishes stronger when he wants to. There was some times with the Eagles where DeAndre Swift would just get chopped down at the goal line and I couldn't believe it. I think that MarShawn Lloyd is just going to be able to run through a couple more arm tackles. And I think he actually has the chance to be a goal line back. DeAndre Swift always gets pulled from those situations. I think MarShawn Lloyd actually has the size and power to kind of stay in those, assuming he hits the right hole. So we shall see. He'll be fun.
All right. That does it. We have other running backs here on the channel. Tons. Like 17 wide receiver videos, 6 quarterback videos. So if you got to this point, just click then on the next one and we'll see you there.